Wanted to go deeper today on Reema Health's $19 million Series B led by LRV Health and Optum Ventures. This deal really stuck out to me today. Reema has one thing that most engagement vendors don't, and that's actuarial validation from Havarti Risk, led by Elevance's former chief actuary. So, as we head into 2026, Medicaid is shrinking in headcount, but getting sicker and more expensive, and plans are dealing with a post redetermination churn, a sicker remnant population, stars and withhold pressures, shrinking budgets, rising ED, and inpatient volatility. And that's exactly why investors are rewarding vendors who can move total cost of care and engagement rates with evidence rather than anecdotes. So Reema just moved into that category. Reema is delegated. It's a high touch engagement and navigation layer for Medicaid MCOs. They pair community-based guides, that's real humans living in the same neighborhood, with a predictive routing platform that identifies which members are reachable, who's likely to deteriorate, and where the ROI sits in that panel. So it's not a call center, it's not an app. This is a precision guided community health worker light model that's aimed directly at ED suppression, preventive care adherence, and connecting unreachable members. Havarti validated is the real story here, and this is the stat line that you'll want to remember, is that Havarti Risk, using the actuarial claims from a national Medicaid plan, validated that Reema reached 32% of previously unreachable members, reduced ER visits by 22%, reduced total cost of care by 23%, and delivered a 3.2 times ROI in the first 12 months. This was measured across 3,000 members pre and post over 24 months. That pushes Reema firmly into what we call our pre-actuarial infrastructure category. That's the rare class of vendors where an actuary actually signs off on utilization shifts. For our purposes, Reema fits into lane 2. This is the clinical social integration models. We like to look at vendors here who have high touch navigation, human first engagement, and full delegated outreach. Also falls into lane 3 of tech enabled models because of the predictive algorithms routing community guides to high value members. So this mix explains both the speed and the raise and the investor profile. So if we'll pull up our scorecard here for a minute, Reema's model is built around the single hardest Medicaid problem, and that's engaging unreachable, high cost, high churn members. This is perfectly aligned with the MCO cost drivers. Needs alignment scores the highest when the vendor is directly mapped to known cost drivers. So Reema's model directly addresses these levers without needing any adjustment. So it's a good validation case study for our scorecard logic here. Reema is fundable because it delivers the two things that Medicaid plans actually buy, and that's hard dollar savings that show up in claims and the operational machinery required to reach members that no one else can reach. Everything else is secondary. Second is real actuarial proof. They're one of the very few engagement and navigation models with third-party actuarial validation. And this matters because plans don't buy engagement, they buy savings. So external validation removes 80% of the procurement friction, and most vendors in this lane have zero actuarial proof. The model is operationally credible, it's high touch, high tech, but with known scale risks. So they use local community guides, in-person outreach, predictive routing technology, a structured caseload model, a clearly described engagement cadence. And this is exactly what plans want, is community health worker like labor with tech enabled efficiency. So a differentiator is this model is field based and not call center based. And that's why the engagement rates are real and not inflated. 4 is that the economics make sense even without public PMPMs. So even without posting their price, the 3 times ROI is plausible because ED avoidance yields fast savings. inpatient spillover falls after ED suppression, and reclassified unreachable members become findable using stars and withholds. They don't yet show their audit, stars, and compliance backbone. Most of this is normal, but it's just the exact kind of detail that we would want to surface here. They're equity forward in a way that's actually operational. Their workforce lives in the community that they served, and that's the reason why their unreachable segments become reachable. It translates to things like higher contact rates and better trust proxies. What you'd still want to see at some point is pricing transparency, stars and withhold math, sensitivity analysis, encounter documentation details, and scalability of community guides in new markets. So these are the questions that you'll want to ask if you're considering procurement. When I overlay Reema on the 2026 window states map, 4 states just immediately jump out. I think they would do really well in states like Indiana, Arizona, Florida, and Texas. These are exactly the kinds of markets where a 22% reduction in the ED becomes a stars and withhold recovery engine. For everywhere else, I think the broader signature is that the era of engagement vendors is over. We're now looking at an era of actuarially validated, delegated navigation infrastructure. So plans are wanting claims proven total cost of care reduction, reachability of the remnant population, and inpatient stabilization, withhold recovery, and community health worker like capacity without hiring 200 workers. I have a full suite of 2026 playbooks for every single vendor type in the Pull universe. So I'm releasing those week over week for my paid subscribers, starting with the foundational needs models. But the short version, at least for models like Reema, if you're a CBO wanting MCO dollars, the playbook is high touch, tech routing, and measurable cost avoidance. On the flip side, if you're a plan or an investor, this is a way to stabilize your unreachable segment without building internal community health worker infrastructure. This also confirms that total cost of care moving social care is a new category. They're also building the sales, operations, and workforce infrastructure required for national payer partnerships. That was a quick overview of Reema Health's 19 million Series B, backed by LRV Health and Optum Ventures for market expansion, maternal health programs, and platform scale. Reema isn't just another engagement company who raised money. It's a signal of what Medicaid plans will actually pay for in 2026.